Belen's Summer by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli. Illustrated by Elena Tomasi Ferroni. Every summer, Belen's parents would plop her in the back seat of their station wagon and drive 7 hours to take her for a 2-month-long visit at her grandparents' home. Though Belen was fond of her grandparents, both the drive and the stay got on her nerves. "I'd rather be at home," she would insist. "Oh, don't say that," her mother would say. "Grandpa Dean and Grandma Ann can't wait to see you." For Belen, seeing was one thing. Having fun was another. Each time Belen visited her grandparents, the worst case of boredom she'd ever had would set in. It seemed that Grandma Ann and Grandpa Dean were perfectly fine just sitting in the living room, sipping their coffee and watching their shows. Day in and day out, that was pretty much their routine. Sure, Belen was welcome to join her grandmother in watching new episodes of The Young and the Beautiful, or endless reruns of old black and white westerns with Grandpa Dean. But she preferred to find ways to keep herself busy. On sunny mornings, that meant scaling the peach tree in the backyard in search of the most perfectly plump fruit for her Grandma Ann to make preserves. On rainy days, it meant searching for earthworms, then collecting and naming them. Or measuring rainwater for secret potions and elixirs. From time to time, she could lure her grandparents out of their recliners to assist her in preparing and baking mud pies. Belen found the best mud pies were made with rainwater. Even her earthworms couldn't resist them. On cloudy afternoons, Belen would lie in the grass belly up for what seemed like hours, finding familiar and unfamiliar shapes in the stratus, cumulus, and cirrus clouds, while her mother would insist that Belen had to be inside when the streetlights came on. Grandma Ann and Grandpa Dean were all too pleased to watch from the back window, as Belen persisted in catching as many fireflies as possible in her jar.
"How many lightning bugs did you get, Junebug?"
her grandfather would laugh. When Belen finally felt tired enough to retire to bed, she'd count the luminous insects with her grandparents before finally releasing them. After a savory dinner of chicken and dumplings, or smothered steak with mashed potatoes, gravy, and greens from her grandmother's garden, Belen would have a bath and then practice her primping skills at her very own evening hair salon. First, she'd style her grandmother. And then, she'd preen her grandfather's curls. On Saturday nights, Belen trimmed his hair and beard. "I'm not taking too much off," Belen would assure her grandfather.
"I trust you,"
Grandpa Dean would laugh. As her grandparents enjoyed their evening television programs, Belen's mother would call her daughter for a nightly check-in chat. "How are you?" her mother began. "I'm bored silly," Belen pouted. "Well, good," her mother would say. "That means you're getting creative." After 2 months that Belen insisted felt like 2 years passed, her mother and father would pull up to her grandparents' front driveway. "You're taller!" they'd both exclaim as they hoisted Belen up in a blanket of love and hugs. "Ready to go home?" her mother would smile. And though Belen would nod eagerly, she'd always imagine packing her grandparents, their peach tree, her grandmother's dinners, the lightning bugs, her mud pies and earthworms, and her clouds into her pockets, and taking them all home with her until the next summer rolled around again. Copyright 2021 by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli.